From Whistle Sports, here's John West with athlete Paul Rabel. They're joined by Hill Holiday's Ramon De Los Santos and Trillia's Jeff Zanella.
All right. Great. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys coming.
Happy to be here.
We thank you guys as well for your participation. You guys answered the call for our experiment for our MCN challenge on behalf of our Brother's Keeper, so we're really excited for what you guys were able to do. You guys actually launched your content as of yesterday, so we'll get into that. But before that, we'd love to understand a little bit more about the background of Whistle Sports and how it came to be and how you found it and what is Whistle Sports today.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having us. We launched Whistle Sports, the initial idea, about 7 years ago. We publicly launched about 2 years ago on YouTube, and we've now expanded across 6 other social media networks. And we're essentially building a sports media company in a new way, not for millennials, but with millennials. So we have 300 community partners, as we call them, creators. Some like Paul, who are athletes, others who just like making cool sports videos. Our aggregate social reach today is about 128 million, and that grows by 2.5 million a week. So we're really excited to have an engaged community, and the growth rates are fantastic.
It's amazing.
And Paul, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I play professional lacrosse, traditionally or considered more of an alternative niche team sport. So when I graduated from Johns Hopkins in 2008, to go long playing professionally, making it my full-time job, because wages on the field are a little bit lower than the NFL. I decided, hey, I have to figure out how to, create a brand and how to interact with our fan base, because the traditional interaction with lacrosse fans, go back to that 5 years ago, probably 10 years ago, when I was just on the cusp of graduating, you were just, the lacrosse fans were victim to traditional media and the linear medias and being covered by SportsCenter or being covered by the New York Times, and it wasn't happening regularly. It was maybe happening once a year. And the advent of social media gave us an opportunity to tell our story as professional athletes to that lacrosse fan, that really hungry, engaged, authentic fan out there that wants lacrosse 24/7. So how could I do that? And I went through the Facebook build-outs and creating fan pages and understanding not only what type of content, the volume of content, and creatively how to continue to improve. And then more recently, when I got into creating a YouTube channel and some consistency and having a weekly Wednesday video drop at 5 p.m., youtube.com/Paul Rabel. That's R-A-B-I-L. Some people call it Rabble. So I was pleased with the introduction, actually. You guys got it right. But it's been a great learning experience, and being a part of an incredible community of influencers and athletes, I'm understanding how to, and I'll talk about it later, create that crossover between a traditional, Orlando Jones was here. I was really enjoying listening to him because he is an entertainer that I've put on a pedestal for a long time, and I'm sure a lot of us here have. And then you have influencers, and their popularity is largely due to the interaction, the conversation that they can have, the being relatable to fans. I look up to Tom Brady. When I was younger, he was still playing at a high level, and I was like, man, he's my role model. I won't be Tom Brady, though. So you miss that, that friendship that you have with influencers. And so what I've been trying to do, and what Whistle has really helped me with the community effort and just understanding the space more, is how can you be that athlete that crosses over into the influence category? So you may be the role model to young lacrosse players, but you can also have that friendship with them that influencers have.
Wonderful. And we gave your network the My Brother's Keeper brief, and you guys, I have to thank you again. You delivered, and you did a great job, and I think we could show the video.
The way I grew up, I didn't have the availability to go to after-school programs.
When I was growing up, I wasn't that great in school.
When I first started playing basketball, I was in a neighborhood that had maybe 3 or 4 basketball coaches and about 200 basketball players. And I was not one of the better basketball players.
When I was growing up in the early 90s, lacrosse was barely sanctioned at the high school level.
I would come out of school early and just have nothing to do with my time and nothing to do with all the pent-up energy I would have.
That can kind of make you feel incapable.
Just being in the bad part of my life. As I got older, came back to what I originally done as a kid, which was exercise.
But I got approached by some kids from a local high school who wanted to start a lacrosse team. And I decided at 18 years old to go down there and become the head varsity coach.
And I would just practice myself to sleep. And that was the moments where I was never told to practice. I would ask my dad to turn his headlights on in the driveway so I could hit the ball against our brick wall.
Escape from the distractions or the things that aren't going well and just enjoy, a game. I feel free when I'm on the court.
From there started Bar Stars, and from Bar Stars we started teaching free group classes every Saturday.
It was all for this passion towards making sure that they had this experience where they could be proud of it after high school.
Bring them down the same path of having something to do with their extra time and their energy, something positive that teaches you discipline and patience and dedication and stuff that you could apply to your everyday life.
I said, why don't I just be that for myself so eventually I can be it for somebody else?
Basketball has instilled the traits of character, leadership, and discipline. I now use my platform to share these traits with my players.
Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to click on this screen to check out more stories from our community. Share your own stories using the hashtag MyBrothersKeeper. And remember, sports doesn't happen without mentorship.
So fantastic job, and just a spoiler alert, you guys have had over 1 million engagements since launching this content as of yesterday by leveraging the full power of your network, which is just awesome. Can you talk us a little bit about how you guys approached the brief and how you guys executed this, and talk about the power of amplification and what you guys bring to the table?
Yeah, we followed a very similar process that we do when we partner with brands. So we tried to understand the objective, which we were told was really drive awareness around My Brother's Keeper. We stepped back across our 300 creators and picked 6 that we thought, for a variety of reasons, would be authentic. It was talked about a lot this morning. We use a phrase called authentic alignment. There's different types of authenticity across 300 different sports creators. So we found 6 that we thought would really get behind this and get passionate for it. They created videos. We created that compilation. Then we went out to about 30 of our creators, starting yesterday morning, and asked them to promote this to their audiences and make their audiences aware that this video existed. And that process really drives the amplification, the views, and then the way we define engagement is really is the viewer leaning forward, and are they liking, commenting, or sharing the video? And we've been very pleased with what we've seen in the last 24 hours.
It's great, yeah, and that response was immediate too.
Yep.
I mean, it scales very quickly, just like as TV does too. And we talk about it in its totality and in aggregate, it does deliver the same type of reach and power that TV can do at the same time. Paul, how was it like for you in terms of this process and in terms of participating in this experiment, and what did you bring to the table in terms of the brief itself?
Yeah, I think what you saw from Samir, who's the head of the Lacrosse Network, another partner of the Whistles, is just understanding first that with sports, there's a necessity for mentorship and coaching, and that humanizing element too is that myself went through that process. I wouldn't be where I am now playing professional sports if I didn't have great coaching, if I didn't have great mentors, and still have great mentors, and actively looking to learn and network from others that are much more sophisticated and smarter than I am. And so that story that I was kind of telling in particular was that, for me, lacrosse, I had mentors and I had great coaches, but there was no professional sport. High schools were hardly sanctioned at the time. I was playing it because I was so passionate about it, and I couldn't get the stick out of my hand. I grew up playing basketball. I often tell John, hey, wish I was playing in the NBA. It'd be a lot easier for me, as far as like a living having great circumstances and all the everything that goes along with it. But I followed my passion.
And would you say that Whistle Sports and the landscape of it, with ESPN, do they serve as a sort of mentor and a guide? Like, do they provide guidance?
Do we mentor ESPN?
Yes. Do you mentor ESPN?
You know, there was a slide that got put up very quickly, but millennials is an overused word, and there are social natives within millennials that have grown up in formative part of their life in the last decade on social media. We think they exhibit very different media preferences than even the older end of millennials who grew up in the internet. So all we do is focus on millennials and those two segments, and we've worked very hard to learn as much as we can, but we're actually learning from the millennials by having them be part of our community as opposed to from another media company.
It's wonderful. And how do you're one of the biggest networks out there on the internet. How do you keep that momentum going?
We're growing by 2.5 million new fans, followers, and subscribers a week, and we think we've tapped into a very large unmet need. Sports media, when we started the company, and over the last 5 to 10 years, really hadn't changed much in 30 years. And it's largely old guys sitting in a production truck or in suits and ties in front of a desk arguing about a live game. Young millennials are watching fewer live games because they don't have a 3-hour attention span, and they want their own view of sports. So they're not only watching on these, this is 70% of our 500 million monthly views on mobile devices, but they're using these to create videos that their peers want to watch as much, if not more, than professionally produced sports. So we believe there's a massive disruption that is just beginning in sports as the last genre of media to go through this, and we're riding that wave and having a blast.
You know, for challenging of creating new content and progressing forward, I guess that's pretty daunting in your life. How do you keep doing that? How do you keep bringing forth new and exciting content that resonates strongly amongst your followers?
Yeah, so it's kind of twofold for me. The first is just listening to my fans and having conversation. And you put out a piece, not all of them work, and they'll tell you when it doesn't and tell you when they like it, or if they want to see something different, you kind of schedule that or think creatively on top of it. The second is, for me, is just always staying open and to what's out there and trying to be an early adopter of new technology. Coming to events like these and listening. I'm fortunate to be able to participate today. But you know, I go to a lot of kind of sports business conferences and understanding the analytics space, wearable space. How can I not only tell a story, but use technology out there to enhance it? And so that's kind of my twofold strategy.
So what's next in terms of content? You got anything exciting planned?
Yeah, well, we were talking backstage a little bit about the video that I created that went viral last year, where we had a lacrosse toss across the Baltimore Inner Harbor. And it was just one of those moments where I didn't add to the prior question, but you know, I use my notepad a lot, and I write stuff down, or I'll access it to my phone. So you know, it's kind of like the old Larry David method, where he just writes everything down that happens in his life. Some stuff's creatively funny, and some stuff is really pisses him off, but all is great to position in a way, and very relatable. So I'm always taking down notes, and I was driving down 95, and last year's winter was crazy, and you guys, those that are from Boston at least, probably experienced it even worse than we did in Baltimore. But I noticed the entire Inner Harbor was frozen over, and it was probably that thick of sheet of ice. And so I called a couple of my buddies, and I go, hey, I got a concept. I think you know, it's over 500 feet. I think we can have a catch across the harbor and just tell a unique little story from a vlog. First two said no, second said, yeah, I'm free, let's do it. So we woke up the next morning and accomplished the feat, and then you know, told that story in post, and then it got shared, you know, across all platforms. And so then thinking more creatively and adding to it, like you said, is okay, now how can I use the same characters? So the buddy in the shoot was another pro lacrosse player named Drew Westervelt. And so I was like, okay, Drew, let's be selective about our next video, but let's think how we can kind of create a series from what we're doing. So the way we pitched it kind of authentically on camera the first time was, hey, I'm Paul Rabel. He goes, I'm Drew Westervelt. And I go, we're going to have a catch across the Baltimore Inner Harbor. And we kind of looked at each other like, showed the distance. And so now the concept is, okay, I'm Paul Rabel. I'm Drew Westervelt. You may remember us from this video. Boom, we snap it in, cut you guys in. You see it, and you go, oh, yeah, this might be interesting now. Come back out. Now we're going to have a catch blank. So we've got all these different ideas we're working through. We executed on one this past weekend. We're probably going to drop it in November. But I think it's going to be really awesome.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's dangerous. So we'll have like a jackass warning or a WWE warning. These are, we'll make fun of it, right? It'll say, warning, these are professional lacrosse players. Like, you know, don't try this at home.
Our clients love danger. So.